You bring flowers to a grave, you light a candle, you say a few final words, you don't think much about why you do this. But the real answer is far stranger than tradition. Somewhere in a cave in Israel over 100,000 years ago, someone dug a hole. They placed a body inside it. Then they placed a deer antler in the dead person's hands. Nobody taught them to do that. Nothing forced them to, they chose it. Why would a species fighting daily for survival waste time and energy burying the dead? Anthropologist Paul Pettit has spent years studying the earliest burial sites on Earth. His research shows something remarkable. Deliberate burial appears again and again, long before writing, before farming, before cities. It shows up before almost anything else we call civilization. That timing matters. It means burial wasn't a byproduct of culture. It may have been one of the first things that created culture. At Kavse Cave, archaeologists found a child buried with deer antlers resting on the chest. At Sandhya in Russia, 2 children were buried together, covered head to toe in thousands of hand-carved ivory beads. Beads that would have taken months to make. Months for someone who was already gone. This is where it gets stranger. Some Neanderthal burial sites, studied by researcher Paul Bennett Pettit and others, appear to show trace pollen clustered around the body. Some scientists once suggested this meant flowers were placed at the grave. That theory is now debated. But the placement of the bodies themselves, curled and positioned with intention, is not. Intention, that's the key word. Psychologist and anthropologist Fiona Coward studies why early humans invested so heavily in the dead. Her work points to one likely answer. Grief wasn't just an emotion to survive, it was a signal. The signal that said this individual mattered to this group, and that mattering held the group together. Because a group that grieves is a group that remembers, and a group that remembers its dead remembers its bond, its debts, its stories, its reasons to stay loyal to each other. Burial wasn't really about the person who died, it was about the people who kept living. That's why the antler mattered, that's why the beads mattered, not because the dead could see them, but because the living needed to see themselves as people who do this. People who cared enough to dig, to decorate, to remember. Tonight, when you scroll past a memorial post, or light a candle, or simply pause at a name you haven't said in years, you're not performing an empty custom. You're doing what humans have done for over 100,000 years, not to honor the dead, but to prove to yourself and everyone watching that you are still capable of caring. That's not tradition, that's survival.